Yeah, they're long.
The original.
The first one.
Thank you. All right, you ready? All right.
Okay, so they are going to take one shoe off and exchange it.
Wait, we gotta take two.
Yeah.
Exchange it.
Yep.
We're
Okay.
good. We each have a shoe.
All right, good luck.
All right, so they will hold up whoever shoe they feel like answers the question the best. They will hold up. So for those of you who don't know what's happening. Okay, so the first question is, who looks the best today?
Oh. You better get that one.
Okay, next one. Who takes the longest to get ready?
Yeah.
Wow, we're too cute.
I want to explain why.
My caveat is he stalls getting ready, so he's usually ready later,
But I go quick.
goes quick. But I'm usually ready first.
Yeah.
Says every man in the building. All right, next one. Who is the most adventurous?
We're the same?
Yeah, we're the same.
Who is the pickiest eater?
Yeah, we got it.
Who plans the best date nights?
Oh.
Oh, I said you.
Who is the better dancer? We'll see tomorrow. Who dances?
I don't even.
So the next question, think very carefully. Who is the most stubborn?
Oh.
I don't know. I said me.
Oh, I said me.
Yeah, you're both stubborn, man.
Good move, Mark.
Going off of that one, who is the first to apologize?
So Mark would be the most stubborn then.
Right.
Yeah.
Who is the better singer? You can't. You gotta pick one.
It's true.
I don't know. She says it. I don't.
It's true.
We sing nice too.
No, you're great.
Mark was in show choir, so he
Okay.
did Mark do show choir?
Do you show choir or just choir?
My strengths are dancing, not singing.
Okay, dancing. Dancer, singer.
There you go.
Who has the sweetest tooth?
Did you say you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who is more? This one. Who is more likely to get lost?
She's pretty good.
It's kind of
About
hard.
everything.
Who is the biggest shopaholic?
Say
Yeah, that's,
me?
yeah,
Would
that's
you
right.
like to shop?
I do.
All right. Who said "I love you" first? We all want to know.
Oh, should we tell the story?
You're
Okay.
not kidding.
It's someone else that
Would
this
you-
is a
did
good
you say
story.
me?
Okay, we're
I
gonna
said-
take a caveat here.
I said me.
Oh, okay. You said you.
One sec.
With hesitation.
This is an interesting question. Okay, so we were at a restaurant, probably, I don't know, 6 to 8 months after we started dating, correct?
Yeah.
And I made her a little upset, and we were eating dinner, and I deserved it. And and I asked her, do you still like me? And she goes, say what you said.
Oh, I'm more than like you.
She goes, I'm more than like you. And then I kind of stopped her. her. So she initiated it.
I gave him the bait.
I got the words out first, though, so I said I love you first, technically, so that's why my shoe goes up.
Technically.
And now our Wi-Fi name is
I'm more than like.
I'm More Than Like. So.
That's sweet.
That is a good story. That one.
Okay, this is an interesting one. Who's more likely to fill the house with gear from their favorite college sports team?
Yeah.
Who'd you
I've
say?
got it.
You? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You both
I'll put stuff on the wall.
You would
You
put
won't.
it on the wall.
Yeah, I put it in the living room.
Or just will have
Needs
it
to keep it in the garage or something.
Yeah.
Just have the clothes for it.
Yeah.
All right. Who would survive longest on a desert island?
Oh.
This is probably pretty easy too.
I don't know.
You're just more responsible than I am.
Lawrence, did you hear what he
You'd just
said?
be able
I
to
did.
figure,
Okay.
You'd just be able to figure things out.
Who's more likely to fall asleep in front of the TV?
Yeah, that's actually really easy.
All right. I've got. Who is more romantic?
I just get like lovey-dovey mushy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Who is more outgoing?
Good.
Yeah.
Who is the best at keeping secrets?
Do you have an answer?
You are, Isaiah? Yeah, I do. Don't look at me.
I don't know.
Okay, that's good.
What'd you say? Me?
I said you.
That's okay.
So do you have any secrets to tell, or
There are no secrets.
there are no?
Not to tell.
Then you both are good at keeping secrets.
Who is the better cook?
Yeah. That's easy.
Who is the better driver?
Well, she would say this, but it's probably this.
Oh!
She doesn't have to drive and
I know.
Who is more organized?
Okay. Next question.
And who has the best fashion sense?
Right, last one.
Okay.
Who chooses where you go for dinner?
We both. We share, right?
Both.
Good answer.
All right, so that was a fun little game. We got to know some things about Mark and Lauren, and for the next part of the evening, we're going to start learning a few more things about them. But first, I'd like to introduce my family to y'all. So, Susan, will you come up here? Jason, and bring Isaiah, please. Have to stop eating that dessert. Huh? Yeah, so my wife Susan, most everybody here's met her already tonight, and as my older daughter Erin, and she married Jason Whitus, and Jason married her one way or another. But and this is my daughter Lauren. I just wanted to share something about Jason and Erin. Try to get through it. And it relates to Mark and Lauren as well, because it's a testimony to what genuine love is, and seeing it in the relationships. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, but I can't tell you about them, about what it is, because when they were going to get married, it was the night before their wedding, and Jason did something for Erin. And at that time, it just I don't want to say it blew me away, but it was just an understanding from God that showed His unconditional love for Erin. And it was right there at that moment. It was that moment that I said, "Wow, this guy's really special." and he loved her with all her heart, and with all his heart. And so it's great to have such a beautiful son-in-law, and a grandson, right? So it doesn't get better than him to have him in the family, and to be with my daughter. And it doesn't get any better to have Mark and Lauren in the family as well. So I really praise God for what he's done for me so far. And still got one more to go. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys. And the genuine love that we see here is from the Lord, and it's a beautiful thing to be a part of, and to have the opportunity to just see it all here tonight as well. So thank you guys for coming up. So we're going to have just few insights on Mark and Lauren tonight. And so I'm just going to, since I'm here at the mic, I'll just start it off. I didn't really have too much planned to share with you about Mark as we grew up. But I'll see, let me think here for one I want to start with. All right, we'll start with the one when he was about this tall. And we were going on a trip, and Lauren was probably 3 or 4. She was old enough to understand what Mark was going to tell her. And so she asked me, how long do we have left of the drive? And I thought about it, and I was thinking, well, I'm going to tell her, but she's not going to have a clue on how long that is. And so I just said, 45 minutes. And I left it at that. And Mark took over from there. So you're 4 years older, right? So you're probably 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there. And Mark was going to translate what that meant to her, for her. And he said, that's all of Mr. Rogers and half of Dragon Tales. And yeah, he just took over for me right there, and Lauren seemed to understand. I was looking in the rearview mirror, she goes. So, and one other time, this is when he had decided on Chicago. Or, we always say Chicago because that's easier than saying Schaumburg. But so, little quick thing about getting into Schaumburg, and that little story, because he did some interviews with 2 other schools. One was in California. He really wanted that job. He wanted to be associated with a big city, just to have that experience. So, okay, that's cool, California. We didn't really have a feeling one way or another about it, and he worked through it, and he declined that opportunity. And so he even went out there to visit. He walked it through the paces to see if that was the place for him to go. And it wasn't. So then we had another one in Indiana, Kokomo, Indiana. And I happened to go out there to that place with him. We flew out there. And didn't we fly via Alabama? So I've actually been in Alabama. Just the airport. Oh, we went to Georgia? Okay, all right. So we went to Georgia, then up to scratch that. I haven't been to Alabama yet. All right. That's in the plans, though. That's in the plans. So we went through that, went to Kokomo, and met with the people there, went out to eat with them, and they were showing us everything about their school and what it'd be like. And we both got sick from the food we were eating. It was a terrible night up there. And we had to cancel a meeting and stuff like that. But so we get home, we're praying about these things and praying about them, and no, turn that one down too. And so it's getting, I think around May-ish. I think we talked about it today. And the new school year would start in August. And so it's getting to the opportunities might be getting a little, slim now going into the rest of summer. So Schaumburg calls Mark up and says we'd be interested in having you come out here and be our K-8 athletic director and PE teacher. And he heard all the details. We talked about it. She said, yeah, sounds good. That was it. We didn't go visit it. We didn't do anything like that. We didn't even know what we were getting into, and we were on the way out after he accepted the position. And we discovered it's like, we didn't even come visit this place. We just said yes. You just said yes. You know, it's kind of a family decision too. But so it's just kind of ironic how we didn't put as much effort, it seems like, into Schaumburg, and that turned out to be the place. And if he wouldn't have said yes to Schaumburg, then there's a good chance it wouldn't have been meeting to Lauren, you know. So I just thought that the best things usually happen for us and God uses us in a very neat way when we're not even trying, we're not even aware of what's going on. Those are some of the best stories. So that's a pretty good story about how Mark got out to Chicago. And then since he's been in Chicago, one of the early days when he was out here, you know, he liked to come down here to the city. He's hanging out here quite a bit, by himself usually, by himself. And, you know, so Susan and I, we don't know anything about Chicago. We hadn't been here before. And, you know, you think about Chicago, you think what you see on the news or what you hear, you know, it's not a great place. You know, you're down there by yourself. What are you doing down there all the time by yourself? So it was probably between 7 and 8 o'clock when he gave us a call in the evening. And he said, I just want you to know that I'm downtown and I'm trying to get back out to Schaumburg. I missed the train and the next one is in 2 hours and I have 2% left on my phone. So I just wanted you to know, if you try to call me, I'm trying to get home. And he was basically calling us and telling us as he was running along, maybe along the tracks, I can't remember, running along tracks through people's backyards in Chicago by himself. And of course, we don't know where he's at. We have no clue where he's at. So we're thinking, are you kidding me? In Chicago? What are you doing in these neighborhoods? And he says, I'll get home around 10 o'clock. I'll give you a call, let you know I made it, but my phone's probably going to be dead. So it's 10 o'clock. No Mark? Nothing. Okay, so, all right. Try not to panic. 10:10, 10:15, no Mark, nothing. Little panic. And 10:30, still haven't heard from him. So I'm calling. He picks up. You know, the phone is supposed to be dead. You know, he picks up. Hello? Mark, what are you doing? Oh, I forgot to text you till I made it home. He got home at 10 o'clock, like he said.
Sorry.
Yeah, so that's his, that was our great experience early on with Chicago. Wondering if he's going to be okay out here. So. But yeah, every time we prayed about it, the Lord always told me, he says, I got him. So it's all good. All right, so we are going to have some other stories about Mark and Lauren. And let's see, I'm forgetting who is going to go next. There we go, Mark.
Hey, thank you, Scott and Susan Wilcox, for a great meal. And thank you all for being here. It's a big deal to travel to Chicago, and we very much appreciate that. Last night we had a gathering with 33 people for pizza, so there are a lot of people that have come from out of town, and we're very grateful. Tomorrow is a day that Susan and I have prayed for since before Lauren Speakman was born. There is a very wise man who told me long ago to pray without ceasing. And he felt so strongly about it, he wrote it on an index card, and it sits on the bulletin board in my closet. And I regularly see this, Mike, pray without ceasing. So we did that. We had 3 prayer requests for Lauren Speakman. The first and most important was that she would put her faith and trust in Jesus Christ at an early age. God affirmatively answered that a long time ago. And we're very fortunate. She had great Sunday school teachers. She was in a discipleship group from 6th grade through 12th grade. She had a wonderful youth minister who's now a pastor in West Memphis, Arkansas. He was the youth minister 7th through 12th grade. And then when she went to Stanford, you know, a lot of young people, when they go to college, they sort of put church aside. But we're blessed. Lauren found, tear up. Look at these girls. Lauren found these awesome Stanford girls. And she found a great church. And then when she went to Auburn, she found great friends, Christian friends, in the pharmacy school. Then when she came to Chicago, she found her own discipleship group that Molly is a part of. And she found a great church in Harvest Bible Church that she's going to be married to Mark tomorrow. Our second prayer request, and we had these for both our children, were that God would spare us from a period of rebellion. You see, my dad was an alcoholic, and I've seen firsthand problems with addiction, and there are consequences from rebellion. And I see that our culture is now redefining biblical marriage. Unfortunately, our culture and a lot of Christians say that it's okay to have premarital sex first and then live together, and if you like it, you can get married then. It was our prayer that God would spare us from this rebellion. And so when Lauren was a senior in high school, God affirmatively answered that prayer to me. You see, this is a great story. If your child is going to rebel, usually they go rebel and they don't tell their mom and dad. Well, in this case, about 2 weeks before she was scheduled to graduate from high school, in effect, Lauren Speakman came to me and said, Dad, would it be okay if I rebel? Those aren't her exact words. What she really asked was, Dad, would it be okay if I participate in a senior high school prank? And Kate, maybe you know about this. And I've done a bunch of shenanigans in my life. So I listened to Lauren. I didn't say no. I didn't say yeah. I said, so what's the deal? She said, well, we're going to breach the perimeter fence of Lee Scott Academy. And there's going to be a certain window that's going to be left unlocked at night. And fortunately, Scott was not on the faculty at this time. Scott had long retired. And we're going to climb in that window, and we're going to open the school doors at about 4 a.m. And the entire senior class, we're going to fill up Dixie cups of water, and we're going to put 1,000 of them in the doorway. So at 7:30 the next morning, they can't have class. Seemed like a harmless senior prank to me. And I have done a lot of shenanigans. And the Wilcox's family is getting to know that I have done some shenanigans. So I didn't say no and I didn't say yes. But it occurred to me, Lauren Speakman was a salutatorian of the Lee Scott High School class. And she is scheduled to speak at graduation. It also occurred to me that I was a member of the school board. So I went to the headmaster and I did not give any names. I didn't give your name, Kate. I didn't give Lauren's name. I didn't even give specifics to Dr. Don Roberts. But Dr. Don Roberts reminded me that there are consequences to rebellion. He said, we have security cameras in the school, and so that anybody that participates in this vague thing you've just described, Mr. Speakman, will not be allowed to walk at graduation. Well, I went back to Lauren. I informed her of the consequences. The entire senior class never did the senior prank. So I realized at that point, God affirmatively answered that prayer. He spared us of rebellion. And the third prayer is what's pertinent tonight. So Susan and I have prayed since Lauren was in the womb that God would give our children a strong Bible-believing spouse. And we used to go in Lauren's room oftentimes when we knew that she was not quite asleep. And we would get down on our knees by her bed. And Lauren would open one eye. And we're trying to set the example that hopefully one day Lauren and her future husband will do the same for their children. So about a year ago, I get an electronic message from Mark Wilcox. The message was, I would like to discuss a possible future with your daughter. Mark was very eager. He was very willing. He was willing to travel from Chicago to Auburn, Alabama. I didn't think that was necessary because of the flights and all that. So Mark and I scheduled a specific time to talk. And so, hey, by my profession, I'm an attorney. And so my wife warned me 2 things. She said, Mike Speakman, don't you dare cross-examine Mark Wilcox. And Mike Speakman, don't you dare treat Mark Wilcox like he's a defendant on a stand in a courtroom. And I have probably questioned over 1,000 people during my career in the courtroom. Well, I can tell you that, with cell phones, that conversation lasted 142 minutes and 21 seconds. I had lots of questions. I took 4 pages of notes. I still have those notes.
That's true.
So, Mark, I sincerely apologize if I came across as cross-examining you in that 142-minute conversation. But I can tell you I didn't do that. Because you see, when we started that conversation, the first thing Mark shared with me is that when he was 9 years old, he heard a coach at Nebraska, is an assistant coach, named Coach Ron Brown, share the gospel and made an altar call. And Mark shared with me he put his faith and trust in Christ. And by the end of that conversation, fortunately, Mark can't see me, but there are tears coming down my eyes. I realized God has answered that prayer that Susan and I have had for over 30 years. And Mark Wilcox is the answer to that prayer. We had prayed for a Christian spouse, and God has delivered Mark Wilcox to us. So at the end of the conversation, I told Mark 2 things. I said, Mark, I'm confident that you're God's answer to Mike and Susan Speakman's prayer of over 30 years. And you have our permission to ask Lauren to marry you. But there are 2 conditions. And there were 2 conditions. One was that I said you have to get Christian premarital counseling. Well, he informed me, well, we've already had Christian pre-engagement counseling. I'm like, what is this? So they got a double dose. They had Christian pre-engagement counseling, and then they had Christian counseling through their church, Harvest Bible Church. And the second condition was, when you come to Auburn, I want you to meet with our associate pastor that does premarital counseling. His name is Cliff Knight. And Mark complied with that. So a wise man told me to pray without ceasing. And that's what we did. And God answered all 3 of those prayers in his timing. And so Lauren's character traits, the good ones, they come from her mama. Her shenanigans, they come from her dad. Wilcoxes already know that. Yeah. So we were fortunate that Susan was a stay-at-home mom for many years, and so she invested a lot of time in both of our children, steering them to Christ and teaching them great character traits. But there are 4 grandparents that had a huge impact on Lauren, and their legacy lives on. 3 of them are in heaven right now. I told you about a very wise man who wrote me many years ago to pray without ceasing. That's Susan's dad. We call him Papa. He was a prayer warrior. And he used to pray those same 3 prayers for you, and he prayed for Landon. That Susan and I prayed for many years. So he would be described as a prayer warrior. And on this card, he also told me one other thing. Papa said, make Jesus Lord of your life. He used to explain to me, it's not enough just to pray the prayer and claim to know Christ. Your public and your private life should reflect that you're a follower of Jesus Christ. And so if Papa were here today, he would say to Mark and to Lauren to pray without ceasing for a Christ-centered marriage And he would ask each of you to pray. A man that loved action. He loved to be where the action is. And so to Dad, the action was in the 60s and the 70s and the early 80s. My dad used to go to Las Vegas, Nevada, because that was the only place that they had legalized casino gambling. And on one of those trips to Las Vegas, my dad bought this gaudy looking, awful, huge gold ring with diamonds inset in it. And if you're my age, you know who Liberace is. Liberace was an eccentric musician. He had all kinds of strange jewelry on his hand, so I called it the Liberace ring. My dad died in 1997 when Lauren was 5 years old. Apparently God had plans for that ring, because for 25 years, that nasty looking gaudy Liberace ring has sat in my safety deposit box in Auburn, Alabama. God had other plans for that ring because Mark Wilcox took it to a jeweler in Chicago, and they melted it down. And it is the most beautiful, feminine, wonderful wedding band. It's gold with diamonds in it. And tomorrow, as a symbol of their marriage, Mark will place my dad's ring on Lauren Speakman. And so, Lauren and I, we have traveled a lot of places, probably more than most folks. We've been in a lot of foreign countries, and one time we were in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and we're trying to decide on a hotel, and I'm a good bit older than her. I'm tired, so I'm happy to stay in an inexpensive place, you know, out in the suburbs and go to bed. Lauren says to me, Ivy shaking her head, you're right. Lauren says, I'm like Granddaddy Bobby. I want to be where the action is. So we stayed downtown Buenos Aires in the wide boulevard where the people were tango dancing all night long. So we check in the hotel. I'm ready to go to bed. Lauren's like, now I want to go where the action is because I'm like Granddaddy Bobby. So she has character traits of both her grandfathers. Now she has one living grandmother, Annette, who we call Boo. And if I had to characterize Boo, I would call her very cautious. And the Speakman part of the family, no doubt, need more of that character trait. And we have been so blessed. Annette, Boo, has lived in Auburn. She moved there from Birmingham 15 years ago. She's been the only grandparent Lauren's had the past 15 years. She's had a huge impact. So thank you, Annette. Thank you for what you've done in making Lauren the young lady that she is. And the fourth grandparent is my mom, who died 10 years ago. There's a phrase that would describe my mom. It's carpe diem, which means seize the day. Lauren gets that from my mom. Carpe diem, seize the day. Carpe diem to my mom was a solid Christian lady. She would seize the day with an opportunity to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with an absolute complete stranger. But she would also seize the day to go on a grandmother-granddaughter outing on an elephant safari in Thailand. She also would seize the day to go climb the Sydney Harbour Bridge in Australia with Lauren. And Lauren was not old enough to do it, but somehow my mom worked it out. They got up there. I think maybe there was some flim-flam change in her age or something like that. So Lauren is a product, not just of her parents, but of her grandparents. You know, we're Christians. We believe it's the parents' responsibility to raise children. It's not the government's responsibility. It doesn't take a village. But as Christian parents, we need a church to help us. And we need some wonderful grandparents to help us along the way. And that's exactly what we've had. All of these four grandparents, their character traits reflect in Lauren Speakman. Now there's three other people I need to recognize that have had an impact on our life, their families. The Waldrops, the Moody's, and the Nordens. The Nordens have helped us raise Lauren. We have traveled with the Nordens to many foreign countries. They've had a son and a daughter. We've been lots of places, done lots of things, and our children have gone similar paths. Both our sons, this is my son Landon, went to a service academy. This is their son Nathan, went to the United States Naval Academy. Landon went to the Merchant Marine Academy. And Rebecca had to work, but she's on a plane, will be here shortly. So we travel a lot with the Nordens. They've had a huge impact. And the Waldrops, so Jean Waldrop right here is my mother's best friend, and she's like my second mama, and she's like the other grandparent to my children. And Jean was married for over 60 years to Coach Hub Waldrop, who was the assistant coach football at Auburn University for many years. And so, because my parents were divorced, Jean and Hub's marriage was my example growing up of Christian marriage. And Coach Hub Waldrop was my example of Christian manhood. So when Mark came to Auburn in December, I insisted that Mark go see Coach Waldrop and Miss Jean so he could see my example. Well, Coach Waldrop worked for Shug Jordan, Pat Dye, Doug Barfield. And so shortly after we get in the house, it comes out in conversation. Coach Waldrop mentored a lot of athletes and maintained relationships with them. It comes out that, well, Bo Jackson had just been here recently, and Mark's eyes get huge. And then I asked Hub, would you show Mark your championship ring collection? We go to this drawer, and Hub is 85 years old, and he can't find his national championship ring. He's putting the wrong one on. No, that's the SEC championship. What is that, Sugar Bowl championship? Mark's eyes are getting bigger. But the neatest thing was exactly 6 months and 6 days ago, I get a message from Jean Waldrop that says, we approve of Mark Wilcox. Mark, you'd be in a world of hurt. Been a little bit different. And Mark, I want you to know that Miss Jean here, she's traveled to Chicago for Mark Wilcox's wedding. She traveled to Chicago a couple years ago for another fellow's wedding, a guy named Garrett Jackson. That's Bo Jackson's son. So you're in special company. She's come for 2 weddings, yours and Bo Jackson's son's wedding. Now the Moody's over here, we were neighbors at the lake for many years, and Kate and Lauren grew up together. And Scott was Lauren's physics teacher and calculus teacher at a private Christian school. But one of the neat things we did from 1st grade through 12th grade, Scott and I co-hosted a father-daughter campout. And the highlight to me was always Scott's devotion. We would sit around a campfire and he would do a devotion. And these are things that have been permanently put in my mind. And the last one is the one you remember the most, and it goes along with my prayer request. Scott shared, and I'm not going to share all this with you, vaccinations for life for 12th grade girls. This is just 4 of them. Number 2, Scott wrote, strive to know what the Bible says about right and wrong and incorporate that knowledge into your habits. Number 3 was pray daily for God's will on your journey, where you will go to college, and who you will marry. 12 years ago, you shared this. Number 5, skipping ahead, was the right friends can make all the difference. Seek out Christian friends in that journey. We found those. We found those. We found those. Thank you for being friends with Lauren. And then the last one, this is Scott's words, but I love it. Better no man than the wrong man. He's talking to senior high school girls. And Scott wrote, if he's normal, he will have sexual desire. If he cannot control his desire, he is a dog that stands on 2 feet. There's no dating ministry. Harlequin romances and chick flicks are almost always wrong. If you need your man to change, you may need to change your man. Don't give your heart or anything else away to a boy until you know his first love and his character and his priorities. We've been blessed with a lot of great friends that had a huge impact on Lauren, and I thank you for that. Now, tomorrow, Lauren and Mark, you get a new title. So you already have titles. We said that Lauren was salutatorian of her class. Lauren was also Miss Lee Scott Academy, which as a dad I was very proud of. She's like shaking her head. Mark, he was a high school and college athlete. Specifically, he was a baseball player. And then professionally, Mark is a head coach, and Mark is an athletic director. Professionally, Lauren is Dr. Lauren Speakman, an assistant professor. And my favorite title for Mark is 7th grade Bible teacher. I like that as a dad. But tomorrow, Mark gets a new title, which is husband, and Lauren gets a new title, which is wife. You have the title of son, and you have the title of daughter, and your most important title will always be follower of Jesus Christ. But I recognize as a father, tomorrow, that title of wife will be more important than that title of daughter. And I can tell you that the greatest joy of my life, other than knowing Christ, is being a husband of Susan Lovett. And so it is my prayer that that will be the greatest joy of your life. And so God bless you, Lauren and Mark. We love you both. God bless you. Thank you.
I'm out. I need to go back.
Oh my goodness. Good job, Bill. Yeah. I think you dropped something up there on the floor.
What?
I think you dropped something up on the floor. Will you pull that out?
But also, staring up so much during your so now I'm just all over the place. No worries. But my name is Kate, and I have the privilege of being Lauren's matron of honor. And usually when people start out a wedding toast, they say how they know the bride. And I realized when I was thinking about writing down what to say, I've never not known Lauren Speakman, and I think we can all agree that that is a great privilege itself. Lauren and I were born a month apart in 1993. Our moms were best friends. So we have been friends now for 30 years, which is an incredible privilege. I always wanted a sister, never had a sister, and Lauren was the sister that I never had. Growing up, Lauren was always the main character in my stories. When it took me forever to learn how to walk, Lauren was like sprinting in circles around me. When I started first grade and I was nervous, Lauren was the familiar face waiting for me that I knew. In third grade, we decided that the term best friends was not official enough. So we actually formed a club. And you might ask, who all was in the club? The answer is just me and Lauren. But it sounded really cool, and one of us had the brilliant idea to name it K&L Club. So, K and Lauren Club. Lest you think it was not official, it's very official. We have club meetings once a month. Once a week sometimes. We had a club mascot, something, I wrote it down. Doesn't matter. We had alter ego cat names, Tippy and Tabby. We had a logo, the swirly flower, and my favorite is our tagline. We had lemonade stands, and we had a little tagline, which was, "We help charity with just a meow." People were begging us for the copyright to that, but we kept it. And as we got older, club meetings waned, probably got a little less frequent, but we still did so much of life together. We had summers at the lake, like Mr. Mike mentioned, daddy-daughter campouts. We actually went to Chicago together for the first time to go to the American Girl doll store. And then also just weirder memories. We had an American Idol style radio show where we really tried our talents. We had a spy club where we just looked at neighbors through like but my point in saying all that is that in so many of my memories growing up, if not all of them, Lauren was a main character. And so when it was time for us to go off to college, kind of wondered what that would always knew that nothing would really replace my first friend. And I think there are people in our lives there's family, and then there's people that are like family. And Lauren is one of those to me. I don't think she could replace me either. But, we did go on new and different adventures and in different cities. We always stayed in touch. And Lauren moved to Chicago. She maybe did replace me a little in a good way because she met Mark. So when I first met Mark, it was immediately evident to me that he embraced every part of Lauren. I think you saw in his video, he highlighted a lot of her choreography. Like, he loves that about Lauren. He loves her silliness, her many, many quirky phrases. The fact that she sees every day as an opportunity to make a Google Doc itinerary that's very detailed. He not only, tolerates those things, he embraces those things, he loves those things, and he makes Lauren more Lauren. So that, I was gonna actually wrap my that video in Ireland because that, I think, is such a good, it's one of my favorite memories of seeing them just light up with each other. And it brings me joy because I knew that y'all's dream was so close. The dream of marriage is so close. So anyways, Mark, just want to say, just wanted to thank you for appreciating every part of Lauren, for loving Jesus and leading her in that, for being goofy, for being kind, for being who we hoped and prayed for Lauren. And to Lauren, I just wanted to say thank you for being one of my most cherished friendships. Look at this, I'm gonna get emotional. Thank you for inviting me into a relationship with Mark. Celebrating you too is the easiest thing that I can do. I'm sad that this is the last chance we have, but we can still be here praying for you and rooting for you and being on your team in marriage. So yeah, I'm your biggest fan. Just so happy for you guys. And in the spirit of my earlier reference, you know what's coming. There's some things that just have to be official. You can't just be best friends, you have to be a part of the club. And Lauren really reminded me of this at my own wedding. We added a new member to the club.
Oh yeah.
And so now it is time to officially add a fourth member of the club. It's a certificate of membership to Mark Thomas Wilcox. I made up this official phrasing, I couldn't find it. The following document hereby certifies that Mark Thomas Wilcox, cat nickname to be determined, has been cordially invited and approved to be a member of the most noble and reputable K and L and T and
You still have to sign it.
You can sign it. Oh, I have to sign it.
All right, going together. Yeah, Andrew.
Should I use the mic or not?
Yeah, you can.
Should I?
You're big, man.
Just go without it. Go without it.
My name's Andrew. I'm on the guy's side of things. I met Mark through a friend, and the first time I actually interacted with him, though, was when he was playing baseball against me in high school. How many folks have been to Nebraska? Just raise your hand. If you haven't, I'm not going to be mad at you or anything. Okay, there's a restaurant there called Amigos. It's like really bad Mexican fast food. But our team was sponsored by Amigos. We had Amigos jerseys and all that. And they were from Seward High, which was a lot more official and not, playing a big Amigos and playing Seward High was a big deal. So we were in the district championship game against Seward, and he hit the hit that won in the game, ended my baseball career. So, because from then I went to run at Concordia, and he played baseball there, and met him through, I think it was you, Charlie. And as everyone goes through college, you go through things, you grow up, you figure out what Jesus' role in your life really needs to be. And, around that time, Mark started hanging out with us a lot. In the old White House on 7th Street, he would show up. Charlie lived there, I lived there. And those moments of just like spending all this time together you know, that's what made me, you know, just the person I am today. And, you know, just want to compliment Mark, especially just for you always being there when I needed something, and especially when I got married 5 years ago. You had to drive. You drove up there and drove back that night because you had to work the Taslim.
Yeah.
So you drove through the night after the wedding to make it to work the next morning, which I think shows a lot, you know, about your character. And obviously, Lauren, you're just the perfect person for him. I don't have as many stories about Lauren yet, but I hope to make those. And you know, now I'm the worship leader at our church, and you know, I look back and think there's just no way I would get to that point without people like you guys and other folks in this room. There was a quote that I heard recently that I just thought of when I was sitting back there. There's family that you're born with, and there's family you make along the way. So thank you for being a part of that family. That's all from me.
We want to thank everybody for having us this weekend. Thank you especially to the Wilcoxes and the Speakmans. We love y'all a lot, and we're honored to be here. I'm Rachel Meyer. I'm one of Lauren's Sanford friends.
I'm Claire Graff. I'm one of her Sanford friends as well, and we are part of her family that she has made along the way in the past 10 years or so.
I met Lauren when we were both nervous freshmen. I was at Sanford not knowing anybody, and I sat down next to Lauren and we hit it off chatting about travels and all kinds of different things, and I just knew she was a kindred spirit. And then that night I talked to my parents, and my parents, the first thing they said was, we met the loveliest couple, Mike and Susan, and we just really want you to try to look for their daughter, Lauren. And I said, oh, I've met Lauren, and we realized, okay, this is meant to be. And Lauren and I found each other, navigated some of those nervous early days of Sanford together. And the friendship really just only has grown over the past 12 years. Over the past 12 years I've known her, I've really been amazed, and anybody that knows Lauren can attest to this, that she sets a goal and she chases that dream with passion and diligence. Everything from undergrad, she would spend all these nights in the library studying, and Claire and I were kind of just, we didn't have majors as intense as Lauren, but just always amazed at how hard she worked for her goals in undergrad and pharmacy school, and her residency that led her here to Chicago and to Mark. So her diligence. Lauren is one of the most loyal and selfless people I've ever met. She shows up for all her people at all the big and small moments. And she brings out the best in everybody around her. She brings out the more adventurous side of everybody around her. So Mark, I think you can have that to look forward to. And as I was listening to her dad's toast, I realized that one of my most memorable experiences with Lauren started with her granddaddy and all the adventures in Las Vegas, because several years ago, Lauren had this internship in Arizona, which the whole thing was a very Lauren experience. She lived in this trailer in Arizona working in the Indian Health Service. And we were all a little concerned, but she made the best of it. And Bailey and I went out and visited her at the end of this trip, and we did this road trip all the way through the national parks, and we ended it in Las Vegas. And we were kind of going around exploring, and this guy stopped us and invited us to this dance club later. And I thought, like, there's no way I'm doing that. Like, I have an early flight, I'm gonna go home and go to sleep. But Lauren saw this as like, I'm gonna be where the action is. I'm gonna go to. And Lauren and I, this is probably the most tense moment in our friendship. I don't think I can do that. Like, I'm gonna go home and go to sleep. And she gave me basically an ultimatum. And she said, you can go, but I'm not gonna miss this part. And she talked me into it, and I'm so glad I went. Lauren, I appreciate that she's somebody that she knows what she believes in. She has these like dreams and she goes for them. And she makes everybody around her better. And Mark, I know that's going to be the same way for your marriage. She's the best of the best.
I completely agree with what Rachel has said. Lauren has brought out a lot in me that I didn't know was there. We lived together on the same hall freshman year. Jenna was there, she was my roommate, and then they were big time study buddies, studying chemistry and all the sciences and staying up really late. But Lauren brought out adventure in me. I I got to know her freshman year, and we were close from then on, and we were roommates later on in college for 2 years. And when you live in a dorm communal space with someone and then your roommates, you learn a lot about that person, you bond, and that was definitely an amazing experience. Lauren always pushed me to be adventurous. Within the friend group, I'm probably the most introverted, reserved, cautious, boo. Yes, I felt that. Yes, I'm the cautious one in the group, but it was the Speakman who kind of brought that out of me. And, you know, Claire, let's go try this. Hey, there's a concert. Hey, there's this. And she was encouraging me to be healthy and study, and she modeled such good things for me. And my first year at Stanford, I was independent. I wasn't looking to join a sorority. I really didn't know much about it. But she was in AD Molly was in AD as well. And she kind of presented it to me, and it was more of a sisterhood and being, you know, just part of this community together. And so I ultimately joined AD with Lauren and Bailey, and we had an amazing time. But beyond that, Lauren's character just modeled so much for me. I remember being a freshman or a sophomore, and Lauren modeled how to pray for me. I was still very much growing in my faith journey, and Stanford was a massive part of that. Being blessed with such incredible friends is huge for me, but to have a friend who would sit with me and you know, Claire, this is how you do a devotional. You don't just kind of like read over it and move on. You read the scriptures, you dig deep, you learn more, you reflect. And then she church shopped with me. Like, she just taught me how to live out a Christian life as a young person. And you know, in college there's temptation to rebel, right? But we, with Lauren on her side, she would see those people like on spring break, and she's like, let's pray for them. She was such an amazing experience. But fast forward, you know, we lived together, and then senior year, the three of us lived together, Lauren and Rachel and I, and we had some really wonderful memories. And from then on, we've kind of lived our own paths and journeys. But all that while, we were all very single. And now we sit here. Stanford has a great quote, like, we sit in the shade of trees that we did not plant, and we sit in God's blessings. We sit with our fiance, our soon-to-be husband, and Rachel, her husband. And that has been a journey together, being single for so long, and then navigating this relationship season has been so beautiful. And I think what we wanted to kind of echo is, Lauren is not the type of person to just make a decision real quick. She does her evaluating, she does her research, she thinks it through, she questions, she prays about it. And so, you know, choosing Mark, that is not any kind of like quick decision. Lauren, you know, got to know Mark and came to Chicago, and it was an interesting time. You know, it was a new city and a new adventure, but she trusted God in all of it. And for Lauren to make this decision and choose Mark, it's just so beautiful, and it's been so wonderful to watch. Yeah.
So we love you all a lot, and like Kate said, we're just excited to stay on this journey with you, and we're just so excited to be here and continue celebrating this weekend. So we love y'all, and thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Well, Andrew already kind of, hopefully you can hear me. Andrew kind of already introduced me. I met Mark in college. I was actually talking to Mark earlier this week, trying to remember how we exactly met. And oddly enough, we both can't remember except through a friend that I went on a mission trip with. So either way, just such a blessing to know. Lauren and Mark, congrats. God has brought you together to become one. And I can't wait to see how he's going to use this marriage for his kingdom. Mark, it's been a fun ride getting to this day. I think I'm not surprised we're here, but at the same time, I didn't know if the perfect girl existed. Our friendship has been such a blessing to me over the years, from college shenanigans, standing with me 7 years ago for my wedding, and figuring out this thing called adulthood. You've been there through the hard and joyful times, and so thank you for that. And before I tell Lauren how awesome of a guy you are, I know I said I wouldn't do this, and it's not,
man.
don't worry, it's not too much. She knows all of these things already, but a few pointers for Lauren to know about Mark. First off, always lie about what time you need to be somewhere. It's key that you give yourself a buffer time to ride on time. For example, I believe Mark was still at the hotel getting ready by the time we arrived at the rehearsal.
That's true.
Secondly, set up his clothes before a big date, or you may find yourself waiting, as he's likely to change his mind several times. Hopefully that's changed.
That's changed.
Thirdly, every moment is a possible photo shoot opportunity. So be ready to say cheese.
That's true.
Lastly, snacks. Always carry snacks. In all seriousness, though, you're about to marry one heck of a guy. I think one of the coolest things about our friendship is how it never skips a beat. It could be 6 months since I saw Mark, and it's sorry. It could be 6 months since I saw Mark, and it's like he was never gone. I think that says a lot about his loyalty to people in his life, like his family and friends. Some other words I use to describe Mark are driven and faithful. It's been so cool to see a small town Nebraska kid embrace living in a big city, trying new things and even making a new career out of it. So for me, I could hardly even figure out how to not take the L train to go back to the hotel. Hopefully I'm not the only one that felt that. Lauren, I believe in Mark who will receive a husband who will lead by faith and not by sight. I remember visiting Mark a few years ago in Chicago. He informed me he needed to drop me off because he had a first date with this girl named Lauren. In my mind, I was thinking, really? I haven't seen you for 6 months and you're going to leave me to go on a date with this random girl? But then he started sharing what he knew about Lauren, how kind, intelligent, and driven she is. I really knew it was something more when he started sharing how much she loved Jesus and the church. He was also a little too giddy about the whole thing. It seemed suspicious. Lauren, I can confidently say you bring out the best in Mark, and it's been so fun to watch your relationship grow. Your sense of adventure and joy for life is contagious and the perfect match for Mark. So here's to you guys in this new
Well, I know we have several people that still wanted to speak, so we got to get it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Keep going.
Go.
Keep going.
All right.
Go for it,
So.
All different.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Bailey McMahon. I know Lauren from Stanford, and we actually met on scholarship weekend, which happened prior to orientation. Fast forward to orientation, and Lauren finds me and grabs me during the karaoke night and pulls me on stage and sang some Tim McGraw song. But it was so out of my comfort zone. But to echo what Claire and Rachel said, it just is such a good example of how Lauren is adventurous and helps her friends just get embolden them to be so confident. So the quick story I wanted to tell about Mark and Lauren, what happened Memorial Day of 2021. So, subject,
I remember
this
this,
was
yeah.
the moment that I knew Mark was the one for Lauren, and vice versa. So a group of friends, we were all at the lake, Lake Martin, which we talked about, and Rachel, Mark, and Lauren were taking a sea-doo over to my mother-in-law's house. We're waiting, they're not here. What happened to them? We find out later that shortly after they departed Speakman's house, the sea-doo flipped. And when the sea-doo flipped, Mark's drone went into the lake. And he thankfully was able to save his camera.
Yeah.
But the drone was TBD on whether it would survive. And so I could tell Lauren was really upset. I think rightfully so. There's a lot going on. And so I pulled her aside and we all were talking, how are you doing? And she just felt so horrible that this had happened, period, but also to Mark and his drone, because we all know now how talented he is, but also how much he loves videography. And it was a big deal that his equipment got drowned in the ocean. And so through these conversations, we talked to Mark, and he looked at me and he said, it's really not a big deal. I'll get another drone. I just wanted to make sure Lauren and Rachel were okay. And I just looked at him and I thought, that is a good man right there. And throughout the whole rest of the afternoon, I think Lauren was way more upset than Mark was. But Mark kept reiterating, he was like, it's okay, I'll get a new camera, I'll get a new drone, it's just a thing. But I wanted to make sure that everyone was okay. And I know that is kind of a silly story, but knowing Mark now and how passionate he is about videography, it just was this moment where I was like, okay, he's a really solid guy, and he's patient and how he cared for Lauren, like pulled her aside and just made sure that she was okay. It was really sweet as Lauren's friend to see how you treated her, and I just know that that's going to be a reflection of just how you handle your marriage and conflict in your marriage, and I just can't be more excited. So, cheers to you guys. We're excited to celebrate you.
So I am Landon. I have the privilege of being Lauren's younger brother, her little bro. And any little bro would look forward to this day where he can embarrass his sister. I don't think I'll embarrass you. But Mark, I've enjoyed getting to know you. We've gone on a few family trips and bonded through the drama of that. Out west, and seen how chaotic the Speakman family travels. But I've enjoyed getting to know you, and y'all definitely compliment each other, and I look forward to seeing y'all grow in y'all's marriage, and having you as a brother officially tomorrow.
Yeah.
And let's see, was it a month ago? I was up here for Lauren's birthday, and we were over at a Navy Pier, and we were waiting when you were driving and meeting us and parking your car, and you were walking toward us, taking a picture. You didn't see us in the picture, but we were waving at you. And I don't know if you remember this, Lauren. Yeah. You were kind of like joking or being overly dramatic, how you can sometimes be. When I see Mark, my heart just butters like a butterfly. And you're being exaggerating, but I think there was definitely some truth in that. Mark knows that her heart flutters like a butterfly.
Oh, mine too.
Mark, after tomorrow, you and I will have something in common that no one else in this room has. We will be the only males to room the barn for what will be an extended period of time. And I wish you luck. I would say we lived together since 1996 when I was born until you went to Stanford in 2011. So that's 15 years, a decade and a half. And Mark, you're about to do a lot more than that. Decades, maybe half a century. So I wish you luck. And, so with that, I look forward to growing in a relationship with you, Mark, and then watching y'all's relationship grow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tomorrow there will be two. But yeah, I'm his sister, and my sister and I, Aaron, we were talking, what are we going to share for speech? And we both kind of had some ideas, and I had said, well, one of the stories I'll probably share is when Mark hit me in the face with the ball, with the ping pong ball. And she was like, well, I had one where I hit Mark in the face with the ball. I was thinking about sharing, so we're like, okay, let's talk about what it's like to have Mark as an older brother and a younger brother. So Mark as my older brother, I would describe him as 3 words. I'd say competitor, protector, and best friend. And competitor, I just have a story for each. Well, one thing I remember doing a lot with Mark when we were younger is that we would take our basketball hoop that was in our front yard. We would spend hours playing out there with our basketball hoop, and Mark, we would lower it to about, probably as low, we were pretty low to get the dunk, so Mark could dunk it, and he would make me throw over and over alley-oops. I would have to give the perfect toss so that Mark could get the duck, and we did that a lot. One specific time that I remember Mark, we'd be, I say competitor, but he was probably beating me a lot, but I'll still use that word. But whenever we would make trips to Iowa, we would play this game called Walker. It's a board game where you basically try to get your marbles around the board. And you have to roll the dice, and then you get to move that many of your marbles around that many times. Well, I could usually, this is a game I could keep up with Mark in, it's more chance with rolling the dice. Well, there was one trip to Iowa at my grandparents' house where Mark was winning a lot, and I was so frustrated why he kept winning the game. But also something I noticed is that whenever he rolled the dice, they would fall off the table. And so I was always the one picking the dice off the table and then giving them back. And later I found out that he was doing that on purpose, and every time he rolled the dice and they fell off the table, he was moving his marbles around the board.
Cheater.
And so that was just a funny story of Mark, yeah. Maybe not the best one.
It's all good.
And then finally we would play ping pong a lot, and that's more of a memory for me where that's when maybe we would get a little angry at each other. Or I would get frustrated. Mark wouldn't, but Mark got pretty cocky in ping pong. And he would have the worst trash talk, and it made me, he always said he was joking, but it would make me so angry. One time, it was getting kind of heated, and I don't know what happened, but ended up with Mark just slamming the ball at my face. I stormed up the stairs, and I went into my room, I slammed the door, and then 2 minutes later, I was downstairs and we were playing again. So that's usually how it went. For the second description as Mark is my older brother would be protector. So a story with him, he's pretty protective of his whole family. He looks out for us. It was this year, and Mark had texted me the night before saying that he was going to come to Lincoln, fly into Lincoln to surprise my dad at the Huskers red and white game. And so I was supposed to pick Mark up from the airport. He texted me around like 10 or something. I didn't respond that night, and then the next morning I still hadn't responded. And it was 8:30, and I was at school, and my watch was sending me messages, but I couldn't find my phone anywhere. And so I got one message from Mark on, I think it was Instagram Messenger. It said, I think it was like, yo dog, you leave your phone at home. And then I get another buzz, and this is why I'm teaching, so I'm up front teaching, and I keep looking down at my phone. It's from Facebook Messenger. It was, yo dog, you leave your phone at home. And so I was like, I couldn't respond because I can't do that on here, and then plus I was teaching, so finally, I think it was probably around 9 o'clock, I got the kids set up for our state testing. I sat down, and I could finally get on my laptop and type to him on iMessage, and I was like, sorry, I'm here at school, and turns out that he had checked my location on his Find My iPhone, and my phone was actually at home, but I was at school, so he hadn't heard from me the night before. It was 8:30 or 9 o'clock the next day, still hadn't heard from me, and my phone location says I'm at home, which isn't good. I'm supposed to be at school, so he called my school, Lincoln Christian, and to see if I was there. And then after I had already checked in with Mark to say I was there, the administrative assistant she ran up to me in the hallway, and she's like, had a sticky note, and can you call this guy back? He's wondering if you're at school. I said I do. So that was Mark looking out for me, just making sure I was okay. And then finally, a best friend. So we finally got to go to college together because Mark took a little bit longer to get to college than maybe the average person. Well, Lauren was in college for a long time too, but
for different reasons.
Different reasons. Mark jumped around a little bit. So I guess since we're 4 years apart, I didn't get to go to high school with him. So finally, when I was a freshman in college, Mark was a senior. So we got to spend the year at Concordia together, and we got to have breakfast in Janzow, and that was always some fun memories. And we also got to take fundamentals of art. We decided to take an art class together. So him and I took fundamentals of art together. We would walk in right around starting time a few minutes late, both of us usually. We come from separate places, but we'd arrive usually at the same time. And a funny memory from that is we sat at different tables. And he said that I remember him saying he sat at another table so that this one guy could sit across from me. He was looking out for me then. But that was another time as a couple. And it's just fun to be able to have that season together in college. And so I knew that Mark needed a special girl in his life. And after a while, probably more like a few years ago, I think a couple more than that now, I started to also pray for this girl. Some qualifications I had for her were I wanted her to have her name be anything but Lauren.
That's rough.
I am honored to share the name with you, but it was that she loves the Lord and pursues a relationship with Him, can fit right in with our craziness and quirks, and loves Him through the highs and lows. And so I love getting to know Lauren and see her fit in so well with our family. I remember when the Speakman stayed with us in Nebraska last year, we just got along so well with them too, and it was really fun to have them come visit. And even sneaking into the Husker Stadium together, which Mike referred to that earlier as we learned how we can get into some shenanigans. We got into Memorial Stadium. So, yep. And we actually took a picture with Ron Brown, who you referenced earlier, so I'm just thankful that the Lord brought me into Mark's life and to our lives. And then finally, I just wanted to end with, at the Bachelorette weekend in Miami, Kate had the idea for all of us to share a Bible verse that we wanted to pray for over Mark and Lauren's marriage. So I just wanted to end with the one I chose, Psalm 91 verse 1, which says, "Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty." So that's just my prayer for you, that you would dwell in the shelter of the Lord and find rest in your marriage throughout your entire lives.
Oh.
He has been begging all night to do this, so I'm hoping he can do it before I say something. And now he's not going to. We'll see if he interrupts. So I know we are Erin, Mark's oldest sister. We're all talking and we're all here because Mark and Lauren found each other. But I would like to tell a few stories of when we lost Mark. So the first one, Mark was about 2, or so, between 2 and 3, I think. And we lived in West Point, Nebraska, and we had this wonderful, wonderful old couple next to us. Their names were Hannah and Helmut, and they were like our grandparents. Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of one of those natural things where I think they were looking for grandkids, and we were looking for grandparents, and they lived right next door. And so we would always go over there, and they were just great, right? And so one day, I don't know what we were doing. We were just at the house. I don't know if we were cleaning or getting ready for someone to come over or what it was, but we somehow were like, "Where's Mark?" You know, and so we were looking in the house, and Mark wasn't in the house. So then he's 2.5 years old, and so then we go outside, and he's not in the front yard, and we're looking out back, and I think his trike might have been out there or something. We saw it out there, and we're like, okay. So he had a friend who was his age, and our families were friends that were across the backyards, the Roberts, and so I think we had called them and said, "Is Mark his way over there?" "No, over there." So I mean, we're panicking. I mean, it's any parent knows, like when you cannot find your child, it is the absolute worst. And I don't know why we didn't go there right away. I don't know if they were maybe gone or they It looked like they were gone. But somehow, I don't know which one of my parents found him over there, but he had tootled his way over to Hannah and Helmut's house and was inside enjoying fresh baked cherry chip cookies. And just sitting there like, oh hey, what are you guys doing? And we were just like, it was just like we had fallen apart because we could not find it. And then you would think, you know, that, okay, you go through that. So we went through that actually again. And we were living in Eagan, Minnesota, and which is a suburb of the Twin Cities. And this time we were getting ready for company that was coming over that night, family friends. And we had these next door neighbor girls, and they would play together all the time. And so it was just a regular thing. It was just a normal thing where they would be outside playing with each other all the time. And so I think we just kind of assumed that had also happened. And so when finally we were like, okay, it's time to get ready, they're gonna be here, he wasn't over there. So, because we had gone over there to say it's time to come home, you know, they're gonna be here, and he wasn't there. And we were kind of like, and I remember being at the door, I said, I'm here to pick up Mark, and he was like, Mark hasn't been over here. And so I had gone back home, and I'm like, he's not over there. And again, that same feeling, your child is now missing. He was probably 4, I think, about that time. And so this was even a worse search. We probably spent, I don't know,
Probably 30 minutes.
30 minutes. It was awful. And I was going door to door in our neighborhood. We lived in a little cul-de-sac. And I remember just running through backyards. I was yelling his name. I had started crying at one point. And because I was in 5th or 6th, I was in probably 6th grade at that time. And I mean, this was horrible. And there was another girl who lived across the street, and they always had this really old, weird car in front of their house when they were home, and it wasn't there, so we thought they were not home. Well, my mom is the one who found him. I don't know what made you go over there, but probably just desperation, like we just have to try and find him. But he ended up being over there. He had just marched himself across the street, which he also wasn't allowed to do, and he had just walked over across the street and was just playing with Violet in their house. And I remember I got over there and he was just sitting on my mom's lap, and you know, as parents, when you lose your child and you find them, it is just like you just never want to let them go. And so I saw that, and then Mark's just sitting there, and he had the reddest cheeks ever because he knew he was in trouble, but also company was coming, and so maybe he might not get in as big of trouble as he was before. So those are the two very, very poignant times in my life. As the older sister, I think sometimes you are charged with, and we're 7 to 8 years apart, and so I was the babysitter, but then I also you kind of take on the care, you take care of them, and if you're older siblings and you know what that's like, right? You take care of your younger siblings, and so those were just some very poignant things that had happened, and I think what that shows to me, is we always went looking for you, and I think in marriage, one thing I can tell you, guys is, and I think anyone who's married in here knows that there will be times in your marriage where you'll feel like you're lost. You'll feel like you've lost each other. You'll feel like you've lost yourself. And so, you'll feel that. And it's just a reality because we're people, we're human, and we do lose our way. But the awesome thing about marriage and about your relationship is that your marriage isn't about not losing, it's about always finding. And it's that constant pursuing of that person. And no matter where they're at, no matter where they've gone, you are always coming back to them and finding them. And I think, everyone here so far has talked about our faith, and that's also, right, what we experience because, Jesus always looks for us. He is the pursuant of us. And we go through those times where we lose ourselves and we lose sight of life and what's important. But he always comes back and finds a way to remind us of that. And so that's what I want for both of you, is that not to avoid the loss, but to know how to make it through it and know how to find each other in that, because that is where I think your relationship will, be able to make it through almost anything. So, I'm so glad to have both of you. You texted us a little while ago and said, I'm so glad I have a normal sister, and I was like, you already are. It's just official tomorrow, and I know Lauren and I, we couldn't be more excited to have you. So I've said it time and time again, and Jason and I have talked about it, how great you are for Mark, and how I think you two will just complement each other in so many ways. So we're very excited about that. So thank you
It's not surprising that there's so much good to be said about Lauren tonight. So I think we have one more gentleman that can speak. Steven.
I am Steve Speman. I am Mike's baby brother, and I am one of Lauren's two favorite uncles. Cover your ears for a minute, Tom. I'm her favorite uncle. I'm Lauren's Uncle Steve. And my brother's been to seminary. He's a little bit more delicate than I am. He was told not to cross-examine Mark. He had a conversation and took 4 pages of notes, undoubtedly on a yellow notepad. I'm 100% sure of that. I wasn't nearly as delicate. His new cat name is To Be Determined, right? Yes. I remember talking to Be Determined on the telephone. I just flat out said, you do anything bad to Lauren, they will never find your body. First I want to talk to Lauren, and then I'll circle back to Be Determined. But Lauren, you're my brother's daughter, my favorite niece, for sure. You were the first granddaughter of my parents, and for 15 years, you were the first grandchild of my parents, and for 15 years you were the first granddaughter until my daughter, Mary Grace, was born. And for the last 15 years since she was born, I have forever been confusing y'all's names and calling you Mary Grace and calling Mary Grace Lauren. And sometimes I feel bad about getting names mixed up. But I started thinking about what I wanted to say to you tonight, and I realized I don't feel so bad about getting names mixed up. Because if my daughter turns out to be anything like you, then I have been a successful parent, and I am blessed. You are kind, you are passionate, you are smart, you are a go-getter and a troublemaker in a good way. You are giving of others and unselfish. You are beautiful on the inside and the outside. More importantly, you are godly and you love Jesus with all your heart, soul, and strength. When I think about the fruit of the Spirit, know God's working because I see the fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And I know that the people in this room who know you will agree with me. You've got those characteristics in your life. God is still working on you, and He's got a mighty work ahead for you. But man, you're an amazing man. Like I said, I've been mixing y'all's names up for 15 years. But if my Mary Grace turns out anything like my niece Lauren, then I'm blessed. Now, for about 29 years, I believe that no man would ever be good enough to marry you all. And then I met to be determined. And brother, I couldn't have been more wrong. I've seen how you treat Lauren. I've seen the way Lauren looks at you. I've seen the way she lights up when you walk the door. You could not be more perfect. And by the way, I love the story you shared earlier because I remember that. I was not there present.
Yeah.
But I think that was the day that you won me over from my heart. My pastor always says if you want to know where somebody's heart really is, you need to be there when you accidentally hit the phone with a hammer. See what word comes out. Because something from their heart's going to come out. For some people, it might be a bad word. I think having that camera go to the bottom of Lake Martin, that's like hitting a hammer on your thumb. And I heard that situation, how you treated Lauren, how you really didn't care about her. I thought about how I might have reacted. It wasn't really good. You were perfect for Lauren. And I couldn't be more excited to welcome you to our family. We just need to find a way to convince you and Lauren to move back to Auburn. That's what we gotta do. I'm excited about welcoming you into our family. God bless you both. You're godly people who love the Lord. That's the most important thing. But you also love one another. Tomorrow, I look forward to meeting someone new. Two people get joined this morning. My prayer for you is that your intimacy, your unity, your love, and your oneness will go every single day for the rest of your marriage together. And every day will be better than the one before in your marriage. I'm excited for you, and I look forward to meeting that one new person tomorrow, which is Mr. and Ms. Mark Thomas, to be determined. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think that almost wraps things up for tonight. I haven't left anybody out, right? That we do about speaking. Okay. So Mike, if you'd like to join me up here, Lauren and Mark, and Susan. You guys need to. Do we want them to bring a chair, or are we just going to stand? Okay. All right. We'd just like to take this opportunity to pray over Mark and Lauren. We'd like you all to join us in your hearts and minds as we pray. And when we start, Heavenly Father, we thank you for such a great evening this night. We thank you for everything you've given us, and we give you all the glory. We give you the glory for our lives together, for finding us, and leading us along the path of the righteousness that you've given to us through your death on the cross. And we are so thankful for that. And that light continues to shine as we grow, and as Mark and Lauren were brought together. We heard lots of great things tonight about how they were brought together, and we thank and praise you for that. And we ask for your blessing upon them this rest of this evening, and especially tomorrow as they are joined together to give their lives completely to each other. And we wouldn't want it any other way. We want them to share things with each other, share their life, and they're the most important things to each other as they leave our families as parents and become one the way it's supposed to be done. We just thank you, Jesus, for everything you've done.
Father God, we thank you for this wonderful blueprint you described in the book of Genesis about Christian marriage, and thank you that we have a young couple that has desired to follow your plan for Christian marriage. Thank you that you put Mark in Lauren's life as an answer to Mike and Susan Speakman's prayers and the prayers of Lauren's grandparents. Thank you, Lord, for the blessing that Lauren has been to her parents and her grandparents for so many years. And we pray, God, your blessing on this marriage, that you will guide them and direct them and watch over them. I pray that all the days of their life they will seek your will and they will follow your word as it's spelled out in Scripture. And I pray for your blessings on them. I pray you'll bless this service tomorrow, that it will be pleasing to you, and most importantly, I pray that you will bless their marriage, that they will have a Christ-centered marriage. And thank you for all your blessings. Most of all, thank you for sending your Son, Jesus, that through him alone we have salvation. In Christ's name we pray these things. Amen.
Just wanted to say that there are little goodie bags out here that some people might have received already at the bridal brunch, but it's pretty much like one per family, one per couple, so please grab a goodie bag. It's a little taste of Chicago in there, so thank you so much.
Well, Lauren and I are certainly overwhelmed with all the people here and all the kind words and speeches. Like, I'm surprised I'm not a volunteer, honestly. I did want to end the night just saying thank you, and I do have just a tiny little gift that I thought would be a nice thing. So, our families value a few things. Our families do, Speakman's and Wilcox's and everyone else here tonight. Number one is our faith in Jesus. And then right next to that's our families. And especially I can see the importance of grandparents and our moms and dads and their moms and dads before them and raising children. And we're singing a song tomorrow. Anna's singing us a song of blessing. And it's about your children and their children all be raised to live Christ-like lives. And a month ago, my grandfather passed away, Grandpa Coonan, and he was a member of the military, so they had a 21-gun salute. And I just wanted to kind of give you, Mike, the gift if you want to come up here. I know how much your parents meant to you, and I recognize that as well, because my parents mean the same to me, and theirs to them. So this is a shell from the 21-gun salute that my grandpa had. And everyone in my family's got one, and now you do. So I want you to do that. And I was grateful to So you guys have an awesome night. And is that it? All right, that's it. You guys are free.